Verdanone was a lonely place. The sky was always cloudy, and the ground was covered with orange sand and dark stones. Lee worked alone at a small outpost station. He was a human engineer, sent here to study rock samples and test energy equipment. Life on this planet was quiet and slow, with only machines for company. One evening, while checking solar panels outside the station, Lee saw something strange in the sky. A bright light moved fast across the clouds, then twisted and fell. It wasn't a meteor. It moved sharply, almost like it was trying to land. A few seconds later, there was a loud sound in the distance, followed by a soft rumble under the ground. Lee grabbed his scanner and ran toward the noise. It came from the southern ridge, near the rocky hills. As he got closer, he saw smoke rising above the rocks. When he reached the spot, he couldn't believe his eyes. There, in a small crater, was a crashed ship. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. The ship was shaped like a smooth silver teardrop, half buried in the dirt. The surface was damaged, but still glowing with blue lines that pulsed like a heartbeat. Lee hesitated for a moment. He knew he should call command and wait for orders, but something told him this was urgent. The door of the ship had a crack, and from it, a faint light flickered. He climbed up carefully and looked inside. Inside the cockpit, he saw a tall figure, slumped in the pilot's seat. The figure was covered in a silver suit, tight around the arms and legs, with a smooth helmet hiding the face. The suit looked high-tech, but it was badly burned on one side. The person inside wasn't moving. Lee reached in and touched the suit gently. It felt warm, not from heat, but from energy. He checked for signs of life. The suit had small blinking lights, and when he pressed one, the figure twitched. It was alive, but weak. Without thinking too much, Lee dragged the figure out of the ship and carried it back to the outpost. It was heavy, but not impossible to lift. As he walked, he looked up at the sky, wondering who this person was and where they came from. Back at the station, Lee laid the figure on a table in the repair room. He connected the suit to a power line, hoping to stabilize the energy. The lights on the suit began to glow brighter. Slowly, the helmet opened with a soft hiss. Underneath was a face he had never seen before. The skin was smooth, slightly glowing, and the eyes were closed. The person looked almost human. But there was something different in the shape of the nose and ears. The hair was white and short, shining like metal threads. The person opened their eyes slowly. They were light blue, almost silver, and looked at Lee with confusion. "Where am I?" The voice was soft, but clear. "You're at an outpost on Verdanone," Lee said. "You crashed nearby. I brought you here." The person sat up with some effort. "My ship was hit during the storm. Navigation failed. I didn't mean to come here." Lee gave a small smile. "Well, you're lucky I saw the crash. What's your name?" "I'm Nira," the person said, "from Valari system." Lee had never heard of that place. "I'm Lee, from Earth." Nira looked at him, studying his face. "Human, I've read about your kind, but I've never met one before." Lee was surprised. "You've read about humans, yes. We study many species, but we do not often make contact." Lee looked at her suit. "You need help. Your ship is in bad shape, and your suit is damaged." Nira nodded. "Yes, the energy core is cracked. The suit keeps me alive, but it is failing. I need to repair both, or I will not survive long." Lee stood up. "Then we start right away. I have tools. Maybe we can fix it together." Nira gave a small nod, her expression calm but serious. "Thank you. But be careful. My technology is not like yours." We spent the next few hours examining her suit while Nira rested. He used scanners to check energy levels and circuits. The suit was built with smart fibers and strange metals. Some systems he didn't understand, but others looked fixable. In the morning, Nira stood beside him. She explained how her suit worked and how the energy core could be repaired with the help of human tools. Together, they began working. As they repaired the suit, Lee noticed that Nira was quiet but focused. She moved with grace and precision. Her hands were quick, and her voice calm when she gave instructions. For the first time in months, Lee didn't feel alone. There was something about working with someone from another world, someone who trusted him, that gave him energy. While Nira adjusted the inner panels of her suit, Lee tried to restart a broken circuit. It sparked, then lit up. They both smiled. "That's progress," Lee said. Double quotes, "Yes, we may have a chance." Nira replied, "Outside, the sky of Verdun remained the same, but inside the outpost, something new had begun. A strange partnership had formed, one that neither of them had expected." Lee looked at Nira, still trying to understand who she really was. She looked back at him, her eyes calm and thoughtful. In the days to come, this repair would become more than just a mission. It would be the beginning of something that would change both of their lives, and perhaps even change the future of their worlds. The sun on Verdun never truly rose. The sky stayed a dull orange, with thin clouds drifting above the rocky land. Inside the outpost, Lee woke up early, his mind still thinking about what had happened the day before. A living alien, here in his small station, was not something he had ever imagined. But Nira was real, and she needed help. Lee walked into the main room, where Nira was already awake. She stood near the workbench, studying the tools. Her silver suit glowed softly, and her white hair caught the light from the wall lamps. "You rise early," Nira said, her voice calm. "I don't sleep much out here," Lee replied. "It gets quiet." I do not need long sleep. My suit gives energy when I rest." Lee brought her some water and a nutrient bar. "Not sure if this works for you, but it's all I have." Nira examined the bar carefully, then took a small bite. "It is not bad. Sweet." They sat together for a few moments, eating in silence. Lee kept glancing at her suit. It was full of fine wires, strange symbols, and glowing panels. Part of it had been repaired last night, but some systems still flashed red. "We need to fix your ship too," Lee said. "It's not going anywhere like this." Nira nodded. "The core is damaged, and the engine panel is cracked. It needs a strong weld and energy cells." "I might have something close," Lee said. "My backup unit can give short bursts of power. We can test it." Nira looked at him. "You are very kind for someone who just met me." Lee gave a small smile. "You're the first visitor I've had in months. Even if you weren't from another star, I'd still help." Nira walked to the corner of the room, where her suit's energy module was resting on a metal table. She began removing parts of the core with careful hands. Her focus was sharp. Lee admired how she moved, as if every piece of tech was a part of her. "You're good with machines," Lee said. "My people use machines for everything. We learn young," she replied. "Do humans also learn like this?" "Some do," Lee said, "but not all. Earth is different. Some love tech, some don't trust it." Nira paused. "That sounds like my people too. Some want peace and learning. Others want control." Lee raised an eyebrow. "You mean there's trouble among your kind?" "There's always difference," Nira said. "Even among stars." Lee didn't ask more. He understood that tone. Everyone carried stories they didn't always want to tell. He respected that. They worked together through the morning, repairing the module and testing connections. Lee's outpost had many old tools, but with Nira's help, he found ways to make them better. She taught him to use her scanner, which read energy levels with great accuracy. As the hours passed, they grew more comfortable. Nira asked about Earth, its skies, its cities, its people. Lee told her about forests and oceans, about music and food, about laughter and storms. Nira listened with quiet interest, sometimes asking deep questions. "Why do humans fight so much?" she asked at one point. Lee thought for a while. "Sometimes fear, sometimes power. Sometimes people forget to understand each other." Nira nodded. "That is common. My people do not fight often, but when they do, it is silent and slow, not loud like yours." By late afternoon, they finished restoring part of the energy module. Nira touched the surface of it, her hand glowing slightly as she adjusted a setting. "It is holding for now," she said. "Enough for the suit to stay stable." We leaned on the table. "That's good news. Maybe we can go to the crash site tomorrow. Try to recover more parts." Nira agreed. Yes. The outer shell of the ship may still hold usable tech. They sat again, this time facing the window. The sky outside was darker now, with long shadows creeping across the land. The silence between them felt comfortable. You said you knew of humans before, Lee said. From study. What did your people think of us? Nira turned to him. We watched from far. Earth sent signals through space. Your world is loud and alive. Many on my planet believe humans grow too fast. They fear what you might become. And what do you think? Lee asked. Nira tilted her head. I think your people are brave. You reach for stars with small ships. You build with simple tools. But your hearts are strong. Lee looked away for a second, feeling a bit proud. Not everyone sees us that way. Not everyone sees clearly, Nira said. A beeping sound from the console interrupted their talk. Lee walked over and checked the screen. A small energy spike appeared about 2 kilometers away. It was faint, but Real. Nira stood up quickly. That is not from my ship. Lee looked concerned. Another ship, maybe, she said, or someone searching for mine. Lee narrowed his eyes. We'll need to be careful. Could be a salvager. Or worse, I will check it later, Nira said. If they get close, I will know. For now, they shut down the tools and cleaned the workroom. Nira returned to a quiet corner, where she sat and closed her eyes. The suit lights dimmed, showing she had entered rest mode. Lee watched her for a moment. In just one day, everything had changed. He was no longer alone. There was a visitor from the stars in his outpost, someone who trusted him and worked beside him. And outside, the universe seemed closer than ever. As he turned off the last light, Lee wondered what tomorrow would bring. Nira had come from a far world, but now she was here, part of his life. And something told him this was only the beginning. The next morning came slowly, with dim light spreading across the rocky surface of Verdun. The sky stayed dull, but the air was quiet. Lee stood outside the outpost, holding a scanner and staring toward the direction of the energy signal they had detected the night before. Inside the outpost, Nira sat in front of a small display screen, reading data from her suit. Her movements were calm, but her eyes showed worry. Something about the signal made her uneasy. Lee stepped back inside. The signal is still there, same location, but stronger now. Nira nodded. It is not natural. It is artificial and coded. Not from my ship. Not from yours. Lee placed the scanner on the table. Could it be a distress beacon? No, Nira replied. It is a tracking pulse. Something is searching. Slowly, but with purpose. Lee crossed his arms. Looking for what? You? The ship? Both? Nira said. And maybe this outpost now. Lee felt a small chill. Verdun was supposed to be a quiet planet, uninhabited except for a few survey stations. If someone else was here, it was not by accident. We should go to the crash site today. He said, if someone's coming, we need to get everything useful before they do. Nira stood up. Agreed. We will move quickly. We packed a small toolkit, energy cells, and a portable scanner. Nira adjusted her half-repaired suit, checking its systems and adding support braces to her arms and legs. Though she still moved slower than usual, she had enough strength to walk. They left the outpost and moved across the rocky ground. The wind was low, carrying fine dust that danced around their boots. The crash site wasn't far, but the land was rough, with sharp hills and uneven slopes. As they walked, Lee kept checking his scanner. The signal behind them stayed still, but something about it made his skin prickle. When they reached the ship, Lee could see it was in worse shape than he remembered. The crash had cracked the hull deeper during the night. Small sparks jumped from the damaged edge, and parts of the frame had sunk into the ground. Nira approached the ship carefully. She touched the surface with her gloved hand. The blue lines still glowed faintly, but the energy inside was unstable. I can still access the main panel, she said. If we remove the memory core and fusion chips, I can rebuild the systems. Lee climbed to the other side of the ship. I'll get the chip housing. You take the core. They worked in silence for a while. Nira opened a panel near the center and pulled out a small, glowing cube. It pulsed with light. Reacting to her touch, Lee found the chips he needed and placed them in a case, wrapping them tightly to protect against shock. Suddenly, Nira stopped. She held her hand up, eyes locked on the sky. Something moved, she said. Lee turned, scanning the horizon. Where? Above the ridge, to the east. Lee looked through his scope. At first, he saw nothing. Then a small flash. It was quick, but enough to notice. Could be a drone, he said. Nira's voice was steady. Then we need to leave. Now. They climbed down from the wreck. As they moved back, Nira slowed slightly. Her suit systems were stable, but she had used much energy lifting the memory core. We noticed and slowed down to stay beside her. We'll make it. Just hold on. Nira gave a nod but didn't speak. Her eyes stayed on the hills behind them. By the time they reached the outpost, the sky was darker. A thin cloud cover rolled in, making everything feel heavier. They entered the station quickly, closing the airlock. We set the memory core and chips on the workbench. Nira sat down beside them, breathing slowly. Her hand still steady. I will begin transfer soon, she said. Once my suit recharges, Lee placed a power cable into her suit's energy port. The soft glow returned to the surface, and Nira leaned back with relief. What do you think is out there? Lee asked. Nira looked at the floor. There are groups in space who search for broken ships. They take tech and leave nothing behind. Some are only scavengers. Others serve darker purposes. You think they found your signal? Yes, she replied. My ship sent a weak beacon when it crashed. Standard safety rule. But I had no time to cancel it. Lee ran a hand through his hair. Then we don't have much time. Nira nodded again. Maybe one day. No more. Lee moved to the console and opened the defense panel. The outpost had weak shields and a single laser turret for protection. It wasn't much, but it could delay someone for a few minutes. We can boost the shield with energy from my backup unit, he said. Do it, Nira replied. They worked again, this time with more speed. Lee connected the memory core to a converter, and Nira began sensing data. Her suit displayed readings and code lines, some of which changed too fast for Lee to follow. How long to repair your systems fully? He asked. If nothing interrupts me, 12 hours, Nira answered. But if they come early, I must leave parts behind. Lee walked to the window. The land outside looked peaceful, but he knew something was watching, something that didn't care about peace or life. As night approached, they shared another quiet meal. Nira ate slowly, her eyes distant. I never thought I would land here, she said. Velari ships do not crash often. Lee smiled a little. Earth ships crash all the time. Nira looked at him, and still, your people keep flying. That's what we do, Lee said. Even when we're scared. Nira lowered her head. Then maybe I'm not so different from you. Lee looked at her, thinking about how strange and yet familiar she seemed. She was not from his world, but she understood things deeply: machines, danger, hope. As the outpost lights dimmed, Lee set up a motion alert system. If anything moved too close, they would know. Nira finished sensing the first data set and placed the glowing cube back in a sealed case. Her suit lights faded to rest mode again. Lee sat by the door with his scanner in hand. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but one thing was sure now. He wasn't just helping a stranger anymore. He was protecting a friend. Night passed slowly on Verde 9. The outpost lights flickered low, and quiet sounds filled the air. Soft beeps, the hum of power lines, and the occasional crackle from the outer scanner. Lee sat in the corner of the main room, half awake, holding a tool in one hand and watching the system display. The warning lights stayed green. No movement outside, but the strange signal still pulsed far away. Nira sat across the room with her legs crossed, her hands resting on her knees. Her suit's glow had dimmed to a gentle blue. Her eyes were closed. But she wasn't sleeping. She was meditating, drawing energy through her suit to recover what she had lost. Her breathing was slow and steady. Lee stood up and stretched his arms. How are you feeling? Nira opened her eyes. Stronger. But I need to finish the inner repair to reach full control. What do you need? Lee asked. I must reset the balance core. It is inside the chest module. I have to remove the suit panel to do it, she replied. Lee hesitated. Is that dangerous? No. But my suit is not meant to be open in front of others. Velari do not show their true form. Unless it is safe. I can give you space, Lee said quickly. Nira looked at him for a long moment. Her expression was thoughtful, not afraid. You have helped me. You saved my life. I trust you now. Lee nodded. He stepped back and turned away, giving her privacy. He heard soft clicks as the suit opened, the sound of air releasing. Then something light being lifted. He didn't turn around. You may look now, Nira said. Lee turned slowly. What he saw left him silent. Nira stood without her upper armor. Her silver outer suit rested folded beside her. Her true skin was smooth and pale, with a soft glow, like moonlight touching water. Her body was slim, with delicate lines across her shoulders that shimmered gently. Her arms were marked with small blue symbols that pulsed like living circuits. But what surprised Lee most was her face, without the helmet. Her features were clear. Her eyes were silver blue, bright but kind. Her nose was narrow, and her lips were soft and calm. She looked almost human. If not for the light in her eyes and the faint shine of her skin, she could have passed as one of his own. You look surprised, she said. I didn't expect this. Lee replied honestly. You look very human. We share ancient roots, Nira said. Long ago, our ancestors watched your world. Some believe we touched your past. Stories were passed down. But your kind grew in your own way. Lee walked closer, careful not to startle her. Is that why your people know about us? Yes, we watch from far. We listen to signals. Earth is loud, curious, alive. Some Velari fear this energy. Others admire it. And you? I wanted to see it for myself, Nira said. So I took a simple vessel and followed your signals. But fate brought me here instead. Lee watched her work on her chest panel. Inside, a small glowing sphere. Turned slowly, she touched it with her fingers, and the light around her brightened slightly. Balance core is stable again, she said. I will close the suit soon. Lee handed her a clean cloth. She nodded and wiped her hands. I don't understand everything, Lee said. But I think your people were right to study us. Even if we're loud and messy, we care. We build. We try. Nira smiled softly. That is what I hope to find. As she placed her suit panel back, a loud beep broke the silence. Lee rushed to the console. A new signal appeared on the screen much closer than before. They're moving, he said. Whoever is tracking, they're within 1 kilometer now. Nira locked her suit again and stood quickly. We have little time. If they reach us before I'm ready, we are at risk. Lee checked the defense system. The outer shield was holding, but the turret was weak. We need to finish your systems and prepare a way to escape. There's one option, Nira said. If I can power my ship's command core, I can activate the emergency lift protocol. It will pull the ship into orbit and connect to my beacon. Can we do that from here? Yes. But the signal will be strong. It may attract them faster. We looked at the screen. The moving dot had stopped, hovering now, watching. We don't have a choice, he said. They moved. Fast. Nira placed the memory core into the converter, and Lee connected energy cables from the backup unit. The room filled with a rising hum as the systems activated. Blue light circled the console, and the ship beacon on the far ridge began to glow. Outside, the clouds thickened. A flash of light crossed the sky. Lee ran to the window and saw a shape dark, sharp, and moving fast. It wasn't just a drone. They're here, he said. Nira's voice stayed calm. Then we finish this now. She touched the control crystal, and the beacon responded. A burst of light shot into the sky. The signal echoed across the land. In the distance, the crashed ship began to lift. Dust rose around it as invisible forces pulled it upward. Lee stared, amazed. It's working. Suddenly, the console flashed red. A warning appeared. Incoming breach, Nira said. The outer defense grid detected motion. Something was trying to break through the shield. Can we hold them off? Lee asked. For a short time? Long enough to leave. They rushed to the small launch pod at the side of the station. It was meant for emergency escape. Nira connected her system to it, uploading a flight path to the rising ship. Once the ship is above the clouds, we can dock with it, she said. Lee looked back at the console one last time. The warning lights turned orange. Let's go, he said. They entered the pod, sealed the door, and launched. The small craft shot into the air, racing through the dusty sky. Behind them, the outpost shrank, and a dark shape flew just above the hills. It didn't follow. Not yet above the clouds, Nira's ship hovered, shining like a silver moon. The pod connected, and the hatch opened. They climbed inside. Nira moved to the pilot's seat and took control. Her hands flew across the controls. The ship responded with soft lights and steady motion. We looked out the window. What now? Nira answered quietly. Now we prepare for the next step, and hope we were not too late. The silver ship floated quietly above the thick clouds of Verdun. Inside, the soft hum of the engines filled the space as Lee and Nira sat side by side in the pilot cabin. The stars beyond the viewports twinkled, distant and cold. But here, inside the ship, a new kind of warmth had begun to grow between them. Lee looked around the control panels, amazed at the technology. The lights and buttons glowed softly in different colors, and the displays showed complex data streaming in real time. It was like nothing he had ever seen on Earth or in his outpost. Nira studied the main console. This ship is old, but it is fast and strong. It was made for exploration, not war. Lee nodded. You mentioned before that your people watched Earth for a long time. Why? Nira looked out the window, her eyes thoughtful. We are watchers. We study life across the stars, but rarely do we interfere. Earth sent signals into space for many years. We listened. We observed your growth and struggles. We leaned forward. And what did you see? A young species full of hope and fear. You learn quickly, but you also fight often. Many Velari believe you were too dangerous to contact. Lee smiled softly. I guess we still have a lot to learn. Nira nodded. But there were some among us who hoped otherwise. They saw your spirit, your strength. I was one of them. Lee turned to her with surprise. You came here because you believed in humans? I wanted to see for myself, she said. To understand. The Velari live long, but we are cautious. Watching from afar is easy, taking risks is not. Lee felt a new respect for Nira. What risks did you take? She sighed softly. I left my home world without full permission. I flew across dangerous space, carrying old data and a simple ship. I hoped to learn more than just numbers. I wanted to see the heart of humanity. Lee smiled. And you found more than you expected. Yes, Nira said. Your kindness surprised me. Your willingness to help a stranger. That is not always the way of your kind, but it is your greatest strength. They sat quietly for a moment, the hum of the ship filling the space between their words. Lee asked, What happens now? Your people sent those hunters after you. Are they still following? Nira's eyes darkened. The raiders are a danger. They seek to steal technology and knowledge without care for life. They see explorers like me as easy targets. Lee frowned. Can we stop them? Nira shook her head. Not alone, but together we can prepare. I will use this ship to send a message to Velari allies. They may come to help. Lee looked hopeful. That's good. Maybe your people will finally meet humans. Nira smiled. Perhaps. But first, I must finish repairs and recover more data from the crashed ship. Lee leaned closer. What kind of data? Records of past missions, maps of safe routes, and information about Velari technology. Nira explained. If raiders get this, it could cause great harm. Lee nodded. Then we have to act fast. Nira agreed. Yes, but I need your help. Lee smiled. Anything you need. For the next hours, they worked together in the ship's small workshop. Nira showed Lee how to use alien tools and repair delicate circuits. Lee used his knowledge of human engineering to find solutions when parts were broken or missing. As they worked, Nira shared stories about her people, their long history, their love of knowledge, and their hopes for peace. Lee listened, fascinated by this glimpse into a world so different yet so similar to his own. At one point, Lee asked, "Do Valari ever visit Earth?" Nira smiled softly. "Long ago, some did. But contact was limited. Your world was still young, and our presence would have caused fear." Lee thought about that. Maybe now is the time to change that. Nira looked at him with hope. Perhaps it is. Suddenly, an alert sounded. The ship's sensors detected movement nearby. Lee and Nira stood quickly. "The raiders?" Lee asked. "Not yet," Nira replied. "But they are close. We must prepare defenses." They moved to the control room. Nira activated shields and armed defensive systems. Lee monitored external scanners. Minutes passed like hours. Then, outside the ship, a dark fleet appeared on the screen sleek. Fast ships moving with silent precision. "They have found us," Nira said. Lee clenched his fists. "We won't let them win." Nira smiled fiercely. "No, we fight to protect knowledge, life, and hope." The silver ship rose higher, preparing to escape. Lee stood beside Nira, ready to face whatever came. Next, the stars shone cold and distant as the silver ship moved quickly through space. Lee stood beside Nira in the control room, his eyes scanning the dark screen showing small blips moving closer and closer. The raiders were coming fast. Nira's hands flew over the controls, activating shields and defensive systems. The ship hummed as power flowed through its circuits, lighting panels in blue and green. "They are strong," Nira said. "Their ships are built for war. Fast and deadly." Lee nodded. "We have to stop them." Nira looked at him with calm determination. "We will try. But we cannot fight alone." We thought of the outpost on Vert 9, the quiet planet where it had all begun. Now, the fight was far from there, among the stars. The raider ships appeared on the main screen. They were sleek and black, moving in tight formation. Their weapons glowed red, ready to fire. Lee's heart beat faster. "What can we do?" Nira reached to a hidden panel and pulled out a small device. "This is a decoy signal generator. It will confuse their scanners for a short time." Lee helped her install the device on the ship's hull. The lights flickered as the device powered up, sending fake signals into space. "Now, we wait." Nira said. The raiders slowed, their sensors searching for the real ship among the false signals. Suddenly, one of the raider ships fired a blast. The silver ship rocked but held steady. Lee gripped a railing. "They're not giving up." Nira moved quickly, activating the ship's energy cannons. Bright beams of blue light shot from the ship, striking the raiders' ships. Some sparks flew, but the raiders did not retreat. "They are skilled," Nira said. "But we have one advantage." Lee looked at her. "What?" "The ship's stealth system. I can hide us from their sensors for a short time." Nira pressed a button. The ship shimmered and became almost invisible on the screens. The raiders fired blindly, missing every shot. Lee smiled. "That's amazing." Nira nodded. "But it will not last long. We must escape now." She set the engines to full power. The ship jumped forward, weaving through the stars with speed and grace. The raiders chased, firing weapons that lit up the dark space. Lee helped Nira monitor the ship's systems. Energy was running low, and the shields were weakening. "We won't hold much longer," Lee warned. Nira's eyes narrowed. "Then we must end this now." She reached to the ship's core and activated a special system. The ship hummed louder, and a powerful pulse shot out. The raider ships shuddered, their systems disrupted by the pulse. Some slowed, others lost. "Control." Lee cheered softly. "You did it." Nira smiled but stayed focused. "Not all are down. We must get away." They pushed the ship faster, breaking free of the raiders' reach. Once safe, Lee breathed deeply. "That was close." Nira nodded. "Yes, but we bought time." They looked at each other, knowing the fight was not over. "We need help," Nira said. "I will send a signal to Valari allies." "They will come," Lee agreed. "And I will help, however I can." Together, they prepared to send the message. The stars outside shone bright, but the journey ahead was still long. The silver ship drifted quietly in the vastness of space. Lee stood near the large window, watching the stars sparkle far away. Beside him, Nira worked at the control panel. sending the message that would bring help from the Velari. The battle with the raiders had passed. But the danger was not over. Their small victory bought time, but the raiders could return with more ships. Nira needed allies. And Lee knew this was just the beginning of a larger journey. Nira looked up from the console. The message is sent. Velari will arrive soon. Lee smiled. Good, you won't be alone. Nira's eyes held a quiet hope. Thank you, Lee, for everything. Lee shook his head. I should thank you. You showed me a world beyond mine. You made me believe in something bigger. They stood side by side, two strangers from different worlds, connected by trust and courage. The ship's systems hummed softly. Outside, a small beacon floated, glowing like a distant star. It was a gift from Nira to Lee, a way to call for help if ever Earth needed the Velari. I want you to have this, Nira said, handing over the device. It is a symbol of our new alliance. Lee held it carefully. I will keep it safe. Nira smiled. Remember, humans have great strength, not only in machines or weapons, but in heart and spirit. Lee looked out the window again. I will remember. Suddenly, a soft chime sounded. The ship's sensors detected a new signal. Friendly ships approaching. Velari fleet, Nira said, standing tall. They are here. Outside, small lights blinked and grew larger. Ships of all sizes surrounded them, sleek and shining with advanced technology. Lee watched in awe. They came, Nira nodded, and now, together, we can face the future. The Velari ships linked with Nira's vessel, sharing energy and data. Lee saw the power of unity between different worlds. One of the Velari leaders approached Nira. Through a holographic message, your courage saved much knowledge and life. We welcome you back. Nira bowed respectfully. I return with new friends. Together, we will build peace. We felt proud. In this moment, humans were no longer alone in the vast universe. After a few hours, the fleet prepared to depart. Nira turned to Lee. I must go with them now. Lee nodded. Will you come back? She smiled softly. I will visit. Our paths are joined now. Before she left, Nira embraced Lee gently, a sign of deep respect and friendship. As her ship rose with the fleet, Lee watched until the lights faded into the stars. He held the beacon tightly in his hand. The future was uncertain, but hope burned bright. Lee returned to the outpost, knowing that humanity had gained more than a visitor. They had gained an ally, and that was only the beginning.